Let me ask you a question, one that might feel a little uncomfortable. Think about the small ways you move through your day. The easy smile you offer when you're actually tired. The quick yes, of course, to a request you don't have the time or energy for. The way you swallow your own opinion to keep a conversation smooth and agreeable. What if the nicest thing you do every day, this habit of keeping the peace, is actually an act of quiet violence against yourself? We are raised with a beautiful and simple equation. Being accommodating makes us good. Being agreeable makes us kind. And being easygoing makes us lovable. It is the gospel of getting along, a script we learned so early we forget we're even reading from it. We believe it with our whole hearts. But if that's true, why does a life built on this principle so often leave you feeling utterly exhausted? Why does it breed a secret, simmering resentment that you feel ashamed to admit? Why do you so often feel completely invisible, even to the very people you work so hard to please? Why does the path of being nice so often lead to a dead end of quiet desperation? If this resonates with you, I want to be very clear. This is not a flaw in your character. You are not weak or broken or secretly a bad person. It is, in fact, a sign of a highly intelligent and deeply ingrained survival strategy that you likely learned a very long time ago to protect yourself. Today, we're not going to shame people-pleasing. We are going to approach it with the deep compassion and curiosity it deserves. We're going to understand its intelligent origins in our fundamental need for safety and connection. We will explore the high psychological cost it carries in our adult lives. And most importantly, we will map out the courageous path to reclaiming your authentic, honest no without losing your genuine, compassionate yes. This common and painful experience, this constant draining effort to manage the world around you, can be understood as living inside the peacemaker's prison. It is a psychological cage, built not with iron bars, but with a single, deeply held and often unconscious belief that your safety, your worth, and your belonging all depend on your ability to keep everyone around you comfortable and happy at all times. From a modern trauma-informed perspective, we can see that this isn't just a bad habit or a lack of confidence. It is often a highly intelligent adaptation, a brilliant survival strategy known as the Fawn Response. Most of us have heard of the three primary threat responses: fight, flight, and freeze, but the therapist Pete Walker identified a crucial fourth F, fawn. Fawning is the strategy you learn when fighting back is impossible and running away isn't an option. It is the instinct to appease a potential threat by becoming as helpful, as agreeable, and as non-threatening as possible. As a child, that threat may not have been overt physical danger. It could have been the subtle but terrifying threat of a parent's anger, their sharp disappointment, their emotional withdrawal, or their overwhelming anxiety. Your young, intelligent nervous system learned a critical rule: to stay connected, to keep the peace, to be safe. I must anticipate their needs and meet them before they are even expressed. Is the heartbreaking irony. The very core of the conflict. The strategy that so brilliantly kept you safe as a child becomes a prison in adulthood. The world changes, but the nervous system's programming often remains the same, running on old, outdated software. The conflict you feel every single day is the battle between your learned automatic impulse to please others for safety and your authentic self's deep, quiet, and persistent need for self-respect and honest expression. You are, in essence, living with a nervous system that is still trying to survive a threat that is no longer present. You are still trying to appease a powerful figure from your past, long after that person has left the room. To understand why this fawn response is so powerful, so automatic, we have to travel back in time. We need to go back to the origin story. to the moment the survival strategy was first written into your emotional code. Using the powerful lens of schema therapy, we can see this as the formation of a core emotional blueprint, often called a subjugation schema. A subjugation schema is a deeply held, often unconscious core belief that says, in no uncertain terms, to be loved and to be safe, I must suppress my own needs, feelings, and preferences to avoid anger, retaliation, or worst of all, abandonment from others. It is the quiet internal script that concludes again and again, my needs are a problem, my feelings are a burden, my authentic truth is dangerous to the connection I must have to survive. This belief isn't something you were born with, it was learned. It is the intelligent, logical conclusion a child's mind comes to in an environment where their authentic expression was in some way met with a threat. Your needs didn't feel safe, so you brilliantly learned to hide them.
Consider a young girl named Maya. As a child, whenever she expressed a strong opinion that differed from her parents, or a negative emotion like frustration or anger, her caregiver would become emotionally distant, upset, or perhaps even angry themselves. From Maya's perspective as a child, whose entire world and sense of safety depends on that connection, this feels like an existential threat. Her intelligent young brain, desperate to secure her attachment bond, learns a crucial and life-altering rule. My authenticity threatens my connection. So she adapts. She becomes the perfect, easy child. She learns to swallow her complaints. She learns to share her toys even when she doesn't want to. She learns to say yes with a smile always. She wasn't just being good, she was a brilliant strategist, ensuring her own emotional survival by making herself as lovable, as agreeable, and as non-threatening as possible. And this is the compassionate truth we must start with. The people pleaser you are today was once a child who found a brilliant way to stay safe in a difficult world. The problem is not that the strategy was wrong. The problem is that the war it was designed for is long over, but the soldier inside you is still on high alert.
Now, as an adult, Maya's goodness, that brilliant survival strategy she perfected as a child, has a hidden and very high cost. To understand this cost, let's look at what is happening inside her body and her nervous system through the powerful concept known as the window of tolerance. Coined by Dr. Dan Siegel, your window of tolerance is your optimal zone of neurological functioning. When you are inside this window, you feel calm, present, grounded, and capable of handling life's ups and downs. You can think clearly and feel your emotions without being completely overwhelmed by them. But when we are faced with a perceived threat, or in the case of a people pleaser, when we consistently betray our own needs, we get pushed outside this window into a state of dysregulation. This dysregulation often manifests in one of two ways. If we get pushed up, we enter a state of hyperarousal. This is the classic fight or flight response. It feels like anxiety, panic, anger, chaos, or, in this specific case, a simmering, sharp resentment. If we get pushed down, we enter a state of hypoarousal. This is the freeze or shutdown response. It feels like numbness, disconnection, depression, or a profound, bone-deep exhaustion.
Let's go back to Maya at her desk on a Friday afternoon. Her boss asks her to take on yet another project over the weekend. The moment he asks, Maya feels her stomach tighten and her shoulders tense up. That is a clear, somatic no from her body. It is her nervous system sending her an urgent signal. I have no more capacity. This will push us out of our window of tolerance. But her old Fawn response, her subjugation schema, kicks in automatically, overriding the wisdom of her body. She hears herself smiling and saying, "Of course, no problem at all." On the outside, she is the perfect, reliable team player. But on the inside, two things happen almost at once. Her resentment thermometer spikes into hyperarousal. She feels angry at her boss for asking, and angry at herself for agreeing. Later that evening, after the adrenaline wears off, she crashes into hypoarousal, feeling completely burnt out and disconnected from everything. She goes home feeling both exhausted and angry, and she doesn't truly know why. It's because she has, once again, sacrificed her own nervous system's well-being for her boss's approval. She has chosen his comfort over her own internal safety. Her resentment and her burnout are not character flaws. They are the predictable biological consequences of this self-abandonment.
So the answer seems simple, doesn't it? If you're resentful and exhausted, just say no. But anyone who has ever lived in the peacemaker's prison knows it is anything but simple. The moment you even think about saying no, before the words have a chance to form in your mouth, you are often hit with a tidal wave of guilt. It's a powerful, sickening, full-body experience. Why? What is that guilt really about? That guilt, in most cases, is a false alarm triggered by your nervous system. To understand this, we can turn to the groundbreaking work of Dr. Stephen Porges and his polyvagal theory. Porges introduced the idea of neuroception, our nervous system's incredible ability to detect threats in our environment, a process that happens unconsciously long before our thinking mind ever catches up. For the people pleaser, the nervous system learned a very specific lesson in childhood. Saying no, disappointing others, or having my own needs, that is a threat to my survival because it threatens my essential attachment bond. So now, as an adult, when you go to set a perfectly healthy boundary, your neuroception misinterprets this act of self-care as a catastrophic threat. The guilt you feel is your old survival programming, screaming from the past. Warning, warning, you are about to be abandoned. Abort mission.
Let's imagine Maya decides to take a small, courageous step. A friend asks her for a big favor over the weekend, and instead of her usual automatic yes, Maya takes a breath and says the terrifying words, "I'm so sorry, I can't this weekend. I really need some time to rest." Now, her friend might be perfectly fine with it. Maybe they just say, "Oh, okay, no problem at all." But inside Maya's body, the old alarm bells are ringing loudly. Her heart races, her stomach clenches. A hot wave of guilt and panic washes over her. Her nervous system is screaming that she just made a terrible, life-threatening mistake. The skill here is not to immediately call back and reverse course. The skill is to learn to sit with that feeling and to gently parent your own nervous system. Using techniques from approaches like compassion-focused therapy, you can learn to talk to that feeling like a kind, wise parent would. You can say to yourself silently, "I know you're scared. I feel you. This feeling is just an echo from the past. It's an old alarm, but look around. We are safe now. It's okay to have needs. It's okay to rest." By doing this, you're not just managing a feeling, you're actively retraining your nervous system, teaching it moment by moment that self-honor is not a threat, but the very foundation of true safety.
This brings us to the profound realization at the very heart of healing from people-pleasing. After understanding the origins, the costs, and the false alarms of guilt, we arrive at a pivotal choice. The journey forward requires a fundamental shift in our deepest purpose. It is the courageous move from people-pleasing to people-serving. These two concepts may sound similar, but psychologically they are worlds apart.
They come from entirely different places within us. People-pleasing is a transaction fueled by fear. It comes from a place of deficit, from the unconscious belief that if I give you what you want, you won't hurt me, you won't be angry with me, you won't abandon me. It is an anxious attempt to manage another person's emotions in order to feel safe yourself. And because it comes from an empty cup, it always, eventually, leads to burnout and resentment. True people serving, however, is an act of genuine, authentic generosity. It comes from a full cup. It is not a transaction, but a true gift offered freely, without the secret, exhausting expectation of getting safety or approval in return. It is, by its very nature, sustainable. And this is the key insight. You cannot genuinely, sustainably serve others from a place of depletion, resentment, and self-abandonment. You must serve yourself first to have anything of real value to offer the world.
The most powerful way to understand this shift is to think of it as becoming your own first responder. We are all taught the simple, non-negotiable emergency rule on an airplane. In the event of a loss of cabin pressure, you must secure your own oxygen mask first, before attempting to assist others, even your own child. A people pleaser is someone who, upon seeing the masks drop, immediately ignores their own desperate, gasping need for air. They are the person running up and down the aisle in a panic, trying to put masks on everyone else, all while they are slowly, quietly suffocating. From the outside, this looks heroic, selfless. But it is an unsustainable and ultimately ineffective form of martyrdom. The journey of recovery, the path to becoming someone who can truly serve, is the courageous and, what might look to others like a selfish, act of stopping. It is the act of sitting down in your own seat amidst the chaos and deliberately putting on your own mask first. It is the act of taking a deep, life-giving, centering breath for yourself. Only when you can breathe freely, only when your own nervous system is regulated and safe, can you then calmly turn to the person next to you and offer genuine, effective, and sustainable help. That is not selfishness. It is the fundamental law of sustainable kindness.
The journey we have discussed today, then, is one of reclamation. It is about moving from being an invisible peacekeeper, silently managing the emotional states of everyone else, to becoming an authentic, grounded presence in your own life. It is the brave work of looking at the brilliant survival strategies that served you in the past, thanking them for their service, and then gently letting them go because they no longer serve the whole, magnificent person you are becoming. This is about unlearning the scripts that kept you small so you can finally learn to honor your own humanity. And in this, we arrive at the ultimate lesson, the one to carry with you from this moment on. Your needs are not a burden. They were never a burden. They are a vital, internal compass, constantly pointing you toward a more whole and fulfilling life. Your no does not make you selfish. It is the sacred act that gives your yes its meaning, its power, and its truth. Without a genuine no, a yes is just compliance. And true, sustainable kindness isn't about erasing yourself for the comfort of others. It is about having the strength and self-respect to show up with your whole self boundaries and all, so that the love and energy you give to the world is real, not a performance born from fear.
So, I will leave you not with a grand task, but with a small, quiet question to hold this week as you move through your life. Think of it as a first gentle step into this new way of being, an experiment in self-possession. Ask yourself this with as much compassion as you can muster. What is one small no you need to say this week? It doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation. It could be a quiet no to an extra task you simply don't have the capacity for. A gentle no to a social invitation that you know will drain you. Or perhaps the most important one of all, a firm no to your own inner critic when it tells you that you are not doing enough. And remember, you are not saying this no to push someone away. You are saying it to finally, lovingly say yes to yourself. Learning to put on your own oxygen mask first, especially when you've spent a lifetime putting it on others, is a lifelong compassionate practice. It is not a one-time decision, but 1,000 small, courageous choices you make every single day. It is the art of unlearning a lifetime of conditioning and returning moment by moment to the truth of your own needs. If this exploration felt like a breath of fresh air for you, like a permission slip you didn't know you needed, I invite you to please support our community by liking this video and subscribing. It does more than help the channel. It helps us continue to create a space that values authenticity, self-respect, and the quiet courage it takes to heal. The most powerful antidote to the false alarm of guilt is the real-world evidence that we are not alone in this journey. The stories of others can be a powerful balm for our own nervous system, teaching it that setting boundaries is not dangerous but life-giving. And so, I would be genuinely honored to hear your thoughts. If you feel comfortable, share a time you said a difficult no and survived. You don't need to share the dramatic details, just the act itself. Perhaps it was a no to a family obligation, a no to an unreasonable request at work, or a no to your own inner critic. Your story of courage, your small act of self-possession could be exactly what someone else wrestling with their own guilt and fear needs to read today to feel brave enough to take their own first step. The comments section can be a place where we learn from each other's journeys, a space to witness and be witnessed. Thank you for being here and for the difficult, beautiful work you are doing to come home to yourself. Be well.